They're called the golden dog, and they truly are a dog of gold, by both name and nature. But what makes the golden retriever so irresistible? People often confuse them with Labradors, when in reality these two breeds have different origins. Labrador ancestors came from Canada, whilst the golden was born right here in Europe. They're also quite different in temperament, but we'll come back to that later. In this video, I want to share the true story of the golden retriever, and to do so, we must start with an old legend. A lord, son of a renowned Scottish banker, walked into a Russian circus tent one evening and saw a group of mysterious dogs with golden coats. These dogs, likely Caucasian shepherds, were performing incredible agility exercises and were phenomenal retrievers. The lord was so captivated that he spent a fortune to buy them, with the aim of bringing them to his estate to breed and create an entirely new breed. Told like this, it sounds like a fairy tale, but for many years, this was believed to be the origin story of the golden retriever. It was only when the notes of that lord, whose name was Dudley Coutts Marjoribanks, were discovered by his great-grandson in 1952, that the true story of the golden finally came to light. And I must tell you, it's far less poetic. In the second half of the 19th century, British nobles loved to engage in waterfowl hunting, the sporting hunt of waterfowl such as ducks, geese, and so on. At that time, however, the old muzzle-loading guns were giving way to new cartridge weapons, which fundamentally changed how hunting was conducted, making it faster and allowing for a significantly larger number of prey to be caught. To keep pace with these innovations, more agile dogs were needed both in and out of water, and the various setters, Tweed Water Spaniels, and wavy-coated retrievers that had been used until then were no longer sufficient. In fact, the Tweed Water Spaniel became extinct precisely because it was no longer needed. Sir Marjoribanks, who later became Lord Tweedmouth due to his social prestige, loved animals as much as he loved hunting them. He had an idea, to create a new breed that would take the best qualities from previous breeds, a sort of perfect retriever, intelligent, agile, and sociable with everyone during hunting expeditions. First, Lord Tweedmouth purchased a wavy-coated retriever named Nouse in 1867 and brought him to his vast country estate at Tomwich in the Scottish Highlands. An interesting fact, Lord Tweedmouth built Gysarchen House on his estate, a grand residence that was abandoned after his death but is now the site of golden retriever gatherings from around the world. Returning to Nouse, this dog had a peculiarity: he was the only golden-coated puppy born to a pair of black-coated dogs. This was quite unusual, as most wavy-coated retrievers, ancestors of today's flat-coated retriever, had black coats. The golden coat of Nouse greatly impressed Lord Tweedmouth, who decided to maintain this trait in the descendants. Keeping detailed records in a stud book, he bred Nouse and then his children and grandchildren, introducing a limited number of individuals from other breeds into this selection, 5 specifically: wavy-coated retriever, Tweed Water Spaniel, setter, Labrador retriever, and bloodhound. The bloodhound has a superpower: it possesses up to 400 million olfactory receptors, almost double the average of other dogs, and hundreds of millions more than humans, who have just 10 million at most. The bloodhound's DNA is likely one of the reasons why Goldens also have a particularly fine sense of smell, a trait that, combined with their sociability, is why they're often employed as drug detection dogs or in search and rescue operations. Lord Tweedmouth began distributing his golden puppies amongst relatives and friends, but the breed had yet to make its social debut. It was Lord Tweedmouth's daughter, Lady Aberdeen, who first officially registered a golden retriever, although, mind you, the breed didn't yet have a name and officially didn't exist. Lady Aberdeen's dog, named Lady, was registered in Canada in 1894 as a yellow flat-coated, and 2 of her puppies, Coolham Brass and Coolham Cooper, were given to a family friend, Lord Lewis Harcourt. This transfer is important because 99% of pedigreed Goldens today descend from these 2 dogs. Lord Harcourt was also the first to enter Goldens in dog shows, immediately achieving enormous public success. It was at one of these shows that his dogs caught the attention of Mrs. Winifred Charlesworth, a cynophile of the time who has gone down in history as the mother of golden retrievers. Mrs. Charlesworth dedicated her entire life to these dogs, intending to have them officially recognized. She founded the Golden Retriever Club of England and helped perfect the breed, making it more agile and efficient. Thanks to her efforts, the name Golden Retriever was finally adopted in 1920, which means Golden Retriever Dog. However, the breed was only recognized by the English Kennel Club 40 years later, in 1960. Brown eyes with a gentle expression, smooth or wavy coat, always accompanied by a waterproof undercoat. Water doesn't reach the skin but stops between the coat and undercoat. As we know them today, Golden Retrievers have conquered the world, becoming, according to some statistics updated to 2024. Currently, there are 3 varieties of Golden Retrievers: American, Canadian, and of course, English. The differences are mostly aesthetic. American and Canadian breeders, adapting Golden Retrievers to market demands, made them more voluminous with thicker, softer coats. The eyes, which in the traditional variant are round, became almond-shaped, while the head became lighter and more harmonious. In any case, what all Goldens have in common are the genetic issues they're prone to, such as hip and elbow dysplasia, as well as an unusual predisposition to developing tumors, particularly hemangiosarcoma and lymphoma. While the percentage of neoplasms in other breeds is about 20%, in Golden Retrievers it reaches up to 60%. The causes of this predisposition aren't known, but scientific studies point to a hereditary problem, partly due to unscrupulous breeders who, over the years, bred Goldens intensively simply because they were fashionable, without carefully selecting breeding dogs, and partly, if not primarily, because the breed's founders were very few and almost all related to Naus, resulting in high consanguinity that has passed genetic mutations from father to child. Life with a Golden Retriever might seem all roses and rainbows, docile, intelligent. What could possibly go wrong? Well, Goldens are indeed a breed full of qualities, but it must be said that these dogs need plenty of exercise and outdoor play to channel their instinct as serial retrievers, otherwise, they, too, can cause damage at home. Another characteristic not to be underestimated is their extreme sensitivity, which differentiates them from their Labrador cousins. Labradors are more lively and boisterous, if you'll allow the term, while Goldens are a kind of emotional sponge. Research on blood cortisol levels has documented, for example, that even Goldens during pet therapy activities can experience negative stress, which they somatize by developing skin allergies and diarrhea, as well as true behavioral problems such as compulsive possessiveness or separation anxiety. Just because they're good-natured and don't react badly doesn't mean we can use Goldens as a toy in every situation until they're exhausted. For all these reasons, which make their management more delicate than one might think, even adorable dogs like Goldens can end up abandoned. On the Meta platform, there's a group called SOS Golden Abandoned that has a lot of members. Therefore, the recommendation is always the same: if you want a Golden Retriever, look for the nearest shelter and give a home to a dog who otherwise might spend their entire life in a cage. But above all, always adopt with careful consideration and seek assistance from a dog trainer for any problems you might encounter in the future. Well then, thank you for staying with me until the end. Please let me know in the comments which breed you'd like to learn more about next. Until next time.